It can be very nerve-wracking to get involved within the Toronto condo market. I mean, what do you exactly do? What do you look out for? There's so much to process, especially for first-time home buyers. So in today's video, the least I can do is share across from my many years of experience working with Toronto condo buyers, major items that you should avoid with visual examples. Now, this video is by no means exhaustive, and there are occasional rare exceptions to some things I might mention. But nonetheless, if you are a Toronto condo buyer and you want to know some of the common pitfalls or some of the not so obvious issues that you must look out for, this is the video for you. So let's get started. And quickly, before we get into it, my name is Sam, a Toronto and GTA real estate agent. On this channel, we discuss everything having to do with the Toronto real estate market, buyer advice, seller advice, and so much more. If you find any of this content informative, subscribe, follow for more. And lastly, for any buying, selling, leasing inquiries, you already know what to do. My link is in the bio. Set up a chat. It's easier than ever to set up a chat. Confidently can say there are not many people out there who know the Toronto real estate market, especially condo market, more than I do. Let's start. I was viewing this unit for sale with one of my downtown Toronto condo buyers, and we were enjoying the unit well enough until we saw the exposure. It's level with the Gardner Express. It's not even the biggest issue. The biggest issue is the garbage. That's right, this unit overlooks where the garbage bins are for the entire building. And in the summer, if you have your windows open, you're going to hear the Gardner and you're going to smell the garbage. These are things that Toronto condo buyers should avoid. In a slow to moderate market, when you try to sell a unit like this, it's going to impact resale value. As always, for more tips and tricks on the Toronto real estate market, follow me for more. You often have this issue more so with condos that are on lower floors, and not even particularly within downtown Toronto. This issue can arise anywhere, Midtown, North York, Scarborough, Etobicoke. Not only do you occasionally have some smell issues and odor issues, but then there is the question of pickup, which can be very loud. And of course, if there's any building renovations, where do you think they're going to put the bins? Undoubtedly, this goes as a notch against any unit and better avoided if possible. Moving on to the next key thing that sometimes Toronto condo buyers don't realize. If you ever see this in a Toronto condo building, think twice. We saw this in the hallway of a Toronto condo I was showing to one of my clients. These are clear signs of water damage. As always, for more on the Toronto real estate market, follow me for more. Obvious signs of water damage, such as this, in of themselves should not be disqualifying of the entire building, but they are cause for further investigation. I've done this countless times with my clients where we're seeing something, there is signs of water damage in the hallway, and if the unit checks our criteria, we like the unit, we like the building, we like the area, we have to do further investigation. That can be something such as visiting the higher floors, lower floors to see if that was an issue just with that floor, getting in touch with the property management, doing further investigations and research online, and talking to contacts inside the building, which luckily I happen to have some contacts across most buildings, and really to see if there was flooding, what was the cause of flooding. Not all flooding is created equal. Sometimes flooding can be some person being very, very negligent with their faucet, or it can be a building-wide issue. It can be punctures and holes within the sprinkler system. So this is cause for further investigation, and oftentimes I would probably have to say 7 out of 10 times what the further investigation pulls up is disqualifying. And yet another thing Toronto condo buyers should avoid if possible, and obviously look out for. But not all issues are obvious. Let's move on to something that might not be so obvious at first glance. This is a great example of why you should always do your research when you're buying a Toronto condo about upcoming construction around the building. We saw a unit in that building. It's a unit in a great building, 238 Doris, near Yonge and Shepherd. This is Yonge Street you're looking at. So a great, fantastic area, a great unit, but it was directly exposed to this parking lot. And guess what? We did our research. There's a notice about a tower that's going to go up right in this parking lot. Now, this wouldn't be much of an issue if the unit was not directly exposed to this parking lot. And guess what? This parking lot is not going to remain a parking lot for a long time. It's going to be a large tower, 32 stories, 330 units, and it's going to really take away from an otherwise great unit and a great building. As always, for more on the Toronto condo market, follow me for more. This is a difficult one to catch sometimes, and there's occasional times where I'm showing a building and I'm not aware of these applications. So in the moment, it can be really hard to catch, but if you're ever seriously considering a unit, you and your realtor have to consult a municipal source of a kind if obviously you guys don't notice one of these billboard notices. And even if you do, you have to do further investigation to see what is the exact project coming. Is it in any way going to block her view? If it's going to block her view, how much? Is there going to be new street constructed? Is it a mixed use? And people are often surprised when they purchase a unit. It has clear unobstructed views at the time of their purchase, but they didn't catch a notice, and they are in a surprise of a lifetime when they see construction start and it's going to be a 50-story tower, and you just purchased a unit facing that 50-story tower to come, and you're on the 7th, 8th, 9th floor. And there are a lot of buyers that are not view conscious. A lot of buyers actually don't mind whatsoever if they're facing directly another building. They are fewer and far between than the ones who care, but I've come across a lot of them, and I've purchased for a lot of them. But regardless of whether you care or not, you should know at least what risks you're taking on. More to the point, take a look at this.
At first glance, this condo looks like it has a great view, and I was viewing this unit with my client. But views can sometimes be misleading, because when you look a little bit closer, and there you have it, a construction site right in front of the unit. And great thing we checked it out, because that building being constructed right next door will have a higher height and will completely obstruct the unit we were just viewing.
Something as simple as just walking out to the balcony to see what's in front of you. I mean, in this unit, the views seemed perfectly unobstructed, great city views, and as soon as you peer down, you really see how close the construction was. In that case, it's kind of hard to miss, but you'd be surprised. A lot of buyers unfortunately do. Another item Toronto condo buyers should avoid if possible, and this is something I always look out for when I'm showing a Toronto condo unit for sale to my buyers, is this.
This is a condo view that you should probably avoid if possible, because when your unit's exposure is directly exposed to the loading zone or the loading corridor for that condo building or the condo building next to you, despite the unit itself being a great unit, which in this case I was viewing it with my clients and we like the unit itself, the view can actually become a problem. Think about all the trucks backing up, think about early mornings when there is deliveries. I mean, trucks are loud, garbage trucks, especially if that's where they load and unload the garbage, is especially loud with their mechanical arms, so this could be a headache down the line. As always, for more on the Toronto condo market, follow me for more.
Now, this is in the same family as the very first thing we discussed in terms of the garbage pickup and drop off, but it's a little bit more to the point, because buildings don't only have, loading zones for garbage and renovations. They have loading zones for moving trucks where people are moving in and out. Most often, the moving corridor is situated somewhere close to the loading zone where trucks come make deliveries. More to the point, oftentimes, and this is particularly the case in more central regions of Toronto, Midtown, North York, and downtown, buildings are so close to each other, and most buildings are mixed use, so retail and service at the ground floor and residential on top, that these loading docks don't even belong to the condo or don't even belong to the adjacent building really in the residential fashion, but belong to, for example, the commercial units on the ground level. Now, obviously, businesses and commercial units need deliveries, and whether it's supplies, food, whatever it is, they have deliveries from suppliers, and those deliveries from suppliers come through trucks, and it's also in kind of an ugly sight anyways. So this is another thing I definitely recommend, if possible, for Toronto condo buyers to avoid. But hey, if it doesn't bother you, you're the boss. Speaking of noise, this is another thing that a lot of people don't realize, especially for condo townhouses.
What you're looking at right now are condo townhomes I was looking at with a buyer of mine within York region. And guess what? Condo townhomes have their plus sides, there's no doubt about that, but there's a lot of downsides to consider. First and foremost, when you're about to view condo townhomes, you have to look at the floor plans, right? Because you want to see where your unit is situated exactly relative to the other units, whether it's the lower unit or the upper unit. And this unit we're about to see, as you're seeing right now, was a really good unit, but the problem was there was a unit directly on top of this unit. Now, this wouldn't...
That's right. For the most part, condo townhouses don't use concrete. So essentially, you're living in a really low-rise condo, if you want to think about it, that's all separated by wood framing. Now, there are positives. I mentioned the positives in the video, but oftentimes, without a shadow of a doubt, I would recommend avoiding any lower basement units, and even, if possible, ground units in a condo townhouse. The ground unit can be negotiable. The lower basement units, unfortunately, in my opinion, should not be negotiable. You do have some cases where the ground unit has one story on the floor and one story in the basement. That's a little bit more of a gray area once again, but just so you know, in that case, try to go for the end units or something closer to the end, because once again, if you're in the middle, you kind of surrounded on all sides by other people who are only separated by wood framing, not concrete, as is the case in condos. Sound can obviously also be very important in high rises, specifically where your unit is located around the floor.
Anytime I'm viewing a condo for sale with my clients that's directly across the staircase, this is the test I do. Listen. The door is loud and the unit is not insulated enough, it can get pretty annoying. If the unit is on a higher floor, this won't be as much of an issue, but better avoided if possible. As always, follow me for more.
In this case, obviously, most people are not going to take the staircases, as I mentioned, up to the 30th and 40th and 20th, even 15th floors. But then you have the garbage chute as well, right? That door does make a sound. The chute itself makes a sound. So you should always do a test, perform a test. And if it's too loud, if it's too close, that's once again something I typically recommend my Toronto condo buyers to avoid. This issue obviously also extends to elevators, which is the next item.
This Toronto condo unit is literally facing 3 elevators. I always recommend my Toronto condo buyers to avoid units that are directly facing elevators to the best of our ability. Even if the unit is fantastic, you're going to have a lot of trouble with noise at late hours, especially if it's a downtown Toronto condo building, and especially if it's a building that is not soundproofed well, which a lot of new buildings nowadays are not, unfortunately. And even then, if it doesn't bother you, the first reaction any Toronto condo buyer of mine has is, wow, this is facing the elevators. It's already a negative to start with. As always, for more on the Toronto real estate market, follow me for more, or for buying or selling inquiries, get in touch.
Once again, it's not just the noise factor. The noise factor is an issue, of course, especially if it's a cheaply built cardboard condo. But it's also just unseemly. People don't really like seeing it. It's just kind of ugly, and that's the reaction most buyers have when I work with them, when a unit is directly facing. In this case, it was 3 elevators. In some cases, it's actually maybe 1 or 2, but this case was like all 3 shafts are facing the unit. But whether it's 3, 1, whatever it is, most people just react poorly to that. And I can attest to that as a Toronto real estate agent who's literally out there every single day with home buyers, but specifically as well condo buyers. Thusly, it's yet another thing I typically recommend my Toronto condo buyers to avoid. And listen, there are other items that people should avoid, and you would think these are the obvious ones, but unfortunately, they're not.
This is probably one of the worst layouts I have ever seen. Look, you open the door and bam, there's a wall right there. I mean, if you're coming home late at night, maybe after a few drinks, there's definitely a chance you're gonna smash your head against that wall. And this is what they call the den, which to me is honestly very claustrophobic. It's almost like a prison cell or a timeout space. Nonetheless, look at the clearance. I mean, that is just barely enough clearance for the door for it to not scratch the wall. But it's definitely not sufficient for a comfortable lifestyle in this unit or anything that's going to show well or look good. I mean, it's very dysfunctional in terms of layout. I'm not sure what the builders were thinking whatsoever. In fact, I don't think they were thinking on this one. These are the small things you have to avoid when purchasing a condo, because it could really, break your back. As always, from around the Toronto condo market, follow me for more, or get in touch with any buying or selling inquiries with my link in the bio.
I mean, take a look at that layout. What was that layout? Opened the door and I almost smashed my head against a wall. It was essentially created with the sole intention for imprisoning small children. I don't even think that was up to code. I don't know code like the back of my hands, but I don't believe that's up to code. I mean, the door had no clearance. And yet when the market is hot, and this is something that people don't understand, when the frenzy takes place, when the market is hot, buyers just put on blinders to these things. It's easy to say that's an awful layout in a cool to moderate market, but you would be surprised the things buyers consider in a hot market. But speaking of awful layouts, it's not just that, but it's something that's popping up more and more, which is very shocking, in fact. What am I talking about? Well, take a look at this.
I was really surprised at the layout of this 2-bedroom. Look, the first bedroom has this sliding door, which is very common for new building nowadays, but at least you can argue it's in the living area exposed to the windows. The second bedroom also has a sliding door, and to me, this is something I have not seen before. A transparent sliding door for the second bedroom. I mean, this is not even exposed to any direct sunlight or window space. With a few exceptions where I've seen it pulled off pretty decently, I typically recommend my clients avoid the bedroom that's in the middle of the floor plan and has a sliding door. But definitely, I'm going to recommend my clients avoid a 2-bedroom with 2 sliding doors, one which has no direct access to any window space whatsoever, and is probably going to be very dark. As always, for more on the Toronto and GTA real estate market, follow me for more, or for any buying or selling inquiries, you know what to do. Get in touch with me. My link is in the bio.
2 bedrooms and a 2-bedroom that have no windows. I mean, come on, guys. Like, we know that this is a case with a lot of 1+1s, or maybe 2 bedrooms where one of the bedroom is in the middle of the floor plan, and one of the bedrooms doesn't have windows, and one of the bedrooms have those sliding glass doors or plastic doors, whatever you want to call them, for allowing some natural light. But now they're building 2-bedroom units where both of the bedrooms are not your typical traditional bedroom, and in the middle of the floor plan by the door. What are we doing here? My disappointment aside, I actually created a longer form video on this, going through everything. Check out that video on my channel where I go through the entire floor plan and kind of explain how listings like that try to hide the fact that it's a 2-bedroom with 2 units with 2 bedrooms in the middle of the floor plan. But that is something I would just offhand tell my clients to avoid. And once again, just to be clear, when I say I tell my clients to avoid, I mean, like, I strongly suggest it. And there is so much more I can cover. I've covered it many times. Watch my Toronto condo buildings to avoid, my downtown Toronto condo buildings to avoid, condo views to avoid. Listen, there's a lot of things to avoid in life in general anyways, so real estate is no different. So if you enjoyed this video, definitely give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and also ring the bell, because we're going to do way more live streams. I've been doing live streams, I've been doing Q&A live streams, I've been doing market report live streams, so definitely ring the bell to be notified when we're going live on this channel. Thank you very much for watching. Stay safe and stay tuned. Thank you.